Welcome everyone to this Agent Intelligence. We're exploring everything agent in Web3 from AI agent builders, strong builders in the space, or leaders in the space, and most important, understanding what's happening in the ecosystem. I'm Francesco. I'm leading developer relation at Consensus. I'm contributing to Model DAO. And today we're diving deep into the technology and the vision behind ZK and we have a strong age builder called Hayden. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Welcome, Ethan. It's an honor to have you here. You want to quickly introduce yourself?
Thank you for having me, Francesco, and thank you everybody for tuning in. I'm Aitan. I'm the founder and CEO of ZKAGI. I've been passionate about AI for almost a decade now. I've been building in the space, and decentralization of the AI um, that I used was like one of the problems that I wanted to solve myself. And hence, we as a team, we've come together to build ZKAGI, which is a decentralized infrastructure for AI
Mhm.
without compromising data privacy. So that's one of the core tenets of ZKAGI.
Nice, nice. I mean, it's actually a long journey. I definitely want to know more. But you talk a little bit about these problems. Like, what kind of like the how do you say like the key problems that you were initially trying to solve with building kind of these agents, aka AGI?
Yeah, so ZKAGI is basically infrastructure to be able to build hundreds and thousands of agents, right? From the very root level DNA of an agent, right? Like there's two parts to an agent. There's nature and then there's nurture. So
Hmm.
the nature part is what kind of models can run the agent, right? Like what is the agent running? For example, does it have like a text gen model? Does it have image gen? Does it have video gen? Can it do lip
Hmm.
syncing? Can it like compute time series data? So what ZK gives you is a good DNA for the agent. You can pair this with any kind of agentic framework like ELIZA, or you could use
Mm.
maybe even something in the Web2 world like LangChain, for example, right?
Hmm.
But fundamentally, these agentic frameworks, they're using AI models. Now, we in our network, we give you these AI models and we give you the frameworks to be able to compile your own agent using these agent frameworks, which are publicly available with the DNA that I just spoke about. So that's what ZKAGI gives you.
Nice, nice. Okay, sounds good. And how kind of everything started? Like, did you start building from scratch? Was it in some hackathons? Like, how was kind of like your journey? You were already in kind of like building agents in the Web2 space.
So my first agent was in 2016. I
Hmm.
built like a robot that will autonomously map terrain and then navigate that terrain. uh, Quite interesting one for me because it was the first time I worked with like 3D input data and stuff like that. What I realized is it was very early, of course, at that point. Then I flirted with open source AI over the years, but it was still, there was no real way to monetize open source AI builders. Like, what is the premium for them to actually continue contributing open source? Now, I think one of the problems crypto has solved for AI is this model to incentivize open source, you know, like AI creation, right? And similarly, I found some ways where crypto and blockchain would solve the problems of AI. For example, clustering GPUs from like geographically disparate sources. So that's a problem that Web3ization of crypto, of rather, AI is able to solve. So this way, we understood how AI can support crypto and how crypto can support AI, and we built the thesis for ZKAGI, and then we've pretty much just been delivering on the tech, and we've launched all our products over the course of the last year. um,
Nice.
but yeah, it's been like a long journey through open source, through enterprise sales of some of our products, through
Hmm.
lots of customer interviews, and a lot of R&D through hackathons as well, as you rightly pointed out. And the
Yep.
culmination of all of that is EKGI. It's a very practical open source system that we've built.
Nice. Nice. I agree actually. Like you touched on so many different kind of type of also angle of discussion, right? From like product feedbacks to kind of like how you build, as you said, also like it's kind of like a marathon. It's not a sprint. I think like from building agents is something that start and then kind of like continuously evolve. But I also like the fact that you guys build this kind of like I mean ZKGI is actually for you. It's kind of like a framework for you spinning off agents, right? And is compatible with other frameworks out there. But a little bit more practically speaking, so kind of walk us through your kind of like your agent core functionality or like this specific framework, like in terms of like technical requirements, what builders need to know, and how does it look like kind of like the developer journey of this builder during the kind of like using the KGI.
Yeah, absolutely. So not all builders want to build as heavy. So for builders who want a low code to no code experience, we have an agent builder on ZK Terminal. You can check that out on any desktop or mobile device with the Phantom wallet. All you have to do is go to zkterminal.zkagi.ai and you hit slash and create agent, and you will be able to just answer a few questions like it's basically a form fill, and then the agent gets spun up for you. Hosting, everything is taken care of for you. So this is what we do for people wanting a low code to no code build experience. Now builders actually wanting a more thorough build experience, we offer our API, and the API is loaded with all the tools that you might need, enough and more. For example, of course, there's DeepSeek that we have embedded into our network. Then you also have Flux for image, and you also now have WAN 2.1 for video, which we'll be releasing in the next few days. And besides that, of course, you're able to do lip syncing. The agent is also able to autonomously do trades on chain. It's able to think about these moves, and it's also able to execute those trades on chain using trusted execution environment technology. So only the agent creator has the keys to the agent, and the agent is autonomously issuing commands to trade from within the trusted execution environment. So these are things we already have live. And of course, like a more elaborate build experience, of course, you can use our API, and you can write custom Pythonic script or any other language you prefer, pretty much. We also, help make the process easier because we like to work with people who might be aspiring to build like a custom, very custom agent. uh, but yeah, basically, like latching on the ZK APIs to MCP servers, and besides that, browser automation and these kinds of things are a very real possibility. So anybody who is, uh, quite keen on exploring how basically a privacy-enabled AI API could help you, you can reach out to me.
Nice. That's actually very cool. So you kind of like builders can consume both the API, but also have the interface side. So actually, it's quite, let's say, digestible in that sense. Like you wanna, like, I think a lot of like AI agent builders are hearing us in general, right? Like, I really always like inspired by kind of like the lesson learned and the technical decision that were taken while building kind of ZKAGI from kind of like the start to where it's right now, because you've been in a lot of like iteration. What kind of were those key technical decisions in your architecture that you want to share to the agent builders? Like you say, okay, this is what we did and was more efficient versus this is what we did at the start and were less efficient or something. Kind of those lessons learned.
Yeah, I think one of the big problems we have, of course, enabling people to roll out their own agents in, like, with the no code experiences. Where do you host the agents, right? Uh, so for now, of course, what we've done is we're setting up like confidential, like containerized Docker images, right? Like containers, and this is again like hosted within our infrastructure. But there will be a point, in fact we are getting to that point ever so often, where we might want the users to take the charge of actually hosting the agents on their own infrastructure. So right now we've made the trade-off being like, okay, we'll make it a multi-tenant kind of setup where you can buy a small piece of our existing
Mm-hmm.
servers, but over time we would want people to kind of download the containers and run them on their own machines.
Mm.
uh, so
So locally.
making that whole pipeline extremely self-custodial comes with a better security profile, but it also comes with a slight decrement to actually the user experience, right? Like if you go ask
Mm-mm.
people to, hey, host it yourself, these are the steps. Now that's additional steps for somebody who's coming from like a low code background to do. So this is just one of the trade-offs that we have been trying to, kind of figure out. Hopefully we'll reach a good point of resolution, but for now
Yes.
probably just allowing people to do either or is good. But yeah, this is one of the big ones because uh,
Nice.
number of agents will keep scaling.
100%. And also, like, we want to make sure, and this is kind of the purpose of Mother, is building kind of like social reputation system for agents, right? That we are not kind of like, replacing what happens with DeFi Summer, where there were like 200 DEXs doing the same thing. And I think that's super important. And apart, I really like what you said there. Any other kind of like, main, I don't know, like technical challenges that you faced during the building that you think like, oh, this is something. That we should have thought, or this is something that understanding that I don't know, most of the builder coming from web to Python base, like this is an integration that would have done sooner rather than later. Like, what are the kind of like technical challenges or kind of like surprises you want to share?
While building the infrastructure, initially we wanted to do true blues, zero knowledge machine learning, where even the computation would be happening inside a ZK circuit. And like when we actually tried to do that practically, we just did not have enough compute. It was like it's impossible to do zero, like true blue zero knowledge machine learning on very complex models. For example, flux, you can do it for simpler models like classification, regression, and the simpler ML models, but as soon as you start looking at transformers, they're a beast of their own. So we made the practical choice of relying on TWEs, which are basically trusted execution environments, and doing ZK verified inferencing, based on the input and output parameters rather than doing the whole computation in a ZK circuit.
Mm,
So this was because like, hey, we have to put out something that's practical and that can be
mm.
used by people. So this was a big trade-off that we did.
Nice, nice. Yeah, makes sense. And I think also like it kind of like cut time, right? You were able to actually deliver it earlier with that. Anything like kind of like surprises that you got during development that you want to share? Like you say, oh, this
Uh,
actually took less time, or this is something that surprised us in a way. The validation was easier.
I think for us, like we don't have like crazy surprises because we keep
Hmm.
community engaged throughout the build process. So we,
Hmm.
get all the feedback and we obsess over the first 100 users for any feature. So we pretty much, have laser sharp focus on making the first 100 customers as happy as possible. So as such, we don't have like giant surprises, but yeah, nibbling issues keep popping up with any of
Nice.
the user or developer journeys.
Nice, very cool, very cool. I'm conscious of time here, and now going a little bit like higher level, like around kind of how do you see the agent kind of like frameworks or just ecosystem going? Like, do you see like we are kind of like building same frameworks all over and over? Do you see kind of like the ecosystem is going in a better like developer experience around agents? What do you want to share around that? Because you've been kind of like around since the start, right?
Yeah, I think like macro AI is always a good field to be in. Now, if you just look at the speculation angle, of course, there's going to, it's going to have its own ebbs and flows. Like, there's not going to be constant up in the market. Uh, but if you really look at AI agent sector, I think the CEO of NVIDIA is a very intelligent man. He's created a $1 trillion, business himself, And when a guy like him says that agents are the next $1 trillion asset class, then you better believe it,
Yeah.
right? He cannot be wrong about it because he's pretty much powering like a giant percentage of the AI that we see on the planet using NVIDIA chips, right? So,
Yes.
so it's a practical next step, but I just think people have to nurture these agents for the long term. We like crypto more so like crypto AI builders need to divorce the speculation and
Mhm.
speculatory aspects away from their actual business and focus on core utilities and
Yes.
continue building. I think that's the path to success.
Nice. And do you see any specific kind of like agent use case? I mean, I'm always seeing more social fi and obviously like DeFi specific verticals, but where do you see kind of the space is going like around kind of like development use case?
One thing that I'm personally very passionate about, which might
Hmm.
sound boring, is time series data.
Oh
So
yeah.
if I could predict price and future events, for example, even something like making sense out of astrology or something like that and world events, combining like a number of data types and then being able to predict what will happen next, either in the markets or global politics, that might be quite interesting.
Nice, nice. Yeah, actually, this is a cool use case. And are there any specific kind of use case that people are using for specifically to ZK AGI that you see kind
Yeah.
of popping more?
We are doing autonomous trading on Bitcoin on Solana
Mm.
network. So you just load a bunch of SOL, then using the time series predictions, it buys and holds Bitcoin.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. That's kind of like the major one, right?
Yeah, that's for now the major one. But because we're obsessing over Bitcoin, everything else can be looked at as a
Yeah.
correlated aspect, like correlated asset to Bitcoin, right? For example, Ethereum might be a slightly leveraged or
Hmm.
deleveraged form of Bitcoin. Solana may be different. Then you look at a
Hmm.
meme coin that might be like 45x Bitcoin
Mm.
movement.
Of course.
So if you can study Bitcoin and its pulse like to the T, right? Then I
Yes.
think you can derive a lot more. So that's the way we're thinking.
Nice, nice. And what's your kind of like personal thought around agent to agent coordination? Do you think it's too early? Should we speak about it? Because it's super interesting what you're saying also on BTC. Like maybe, especially coordination between non-EVM agents might be super interesting. But do you think it's kind of like time to speak about it, or it's kind of because there is no kind of standard or specs yet, right?
Yeah, I think whether you look to like it's the way of looking at your agentic architecture, right? You could
Yes.
build it like microservices or have like multiple agents coordinating with each other, or you could build a monolith similar
Hmm.
to a web app. So that's the way I think about it. And the choice is completely up to you. But then for better performance, of course, you have to go with something like a multi-agent coordinated
Yes.
architecture. So it's just an architectural choice, and it's definitely a good problem to solve. Are you solving something in that perhaps?
Yeah, there is. I mean, there is like social coordination is something very important that is very attached to kind of like social reputation system, right? So whenever you have kind of like on-chain agents track record, what you can do is obviously, how do you say, have a specific like data information that are like EVM independent, right? And I think that's one thing that we are passionate about. I think the other thing is like standardization and frameworks, right? Like standardizing agents, because if we're not actually like finding out how a multi-agent not just will work by himself, but also with other agents, because we will have agent-to-agent services. And I think one big play will be standardizing those APIs. Like you're providing kind of you consume APIs on a standard way, right? So I think that will be playing a big role. That's why also is very tied to the use case. But yeah, so yes, so the answer is actually yes. We are kind of like looking at it, but it's also very interesting because speaking with like agent builders like you running also on other ecosystem is opening us a lot of like this kind of views, and it's very important. And okay, I think we are almost on time, but I mean, Athen, like, so what's happening next around ZKGI? What you guys are cooking? Anything that you guys wanna can share, obviously in public, that you wanna further expand the framework? What's coming?
Yeah, I think in terms of builder tools, we're always iterating and offering more builder tools. But I think the more important thing to share is we want to enable more autonomous entrepreneurs and sovereign entrepreneurs from around the planet who want to build revenue generating businesses. And we want to help them, from zero to one, right? Whether it's tech help, whether it's actually helping them with go to market and generating a good sustainable business. So we want to work with people who have the passion and drive to build sustainable businesses. And this is something that we're working on. And I personally write a lot as well to kind of motivate builders. I'm always looking to meet more folks.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I think that's really cool. Any specific resources that you would recommend to builders coming into kind of the agent space? Maybe even like Web2 agent builder focus on Python. What are kind of like your recommendation? Like, hey, check this, check how this works before actually starting building. What do you suggest there?
Yeah, one thing I would recommend for anybody who's building agents is to actually start vibe coding an agent themselves. I
Oh yeah,
believe in, learn, make mistakes, improve rather than, like read a lot and then like when you're perfectly ready, then build something. I would just say like go ahead, start building simple things first and then constantly keep working on them. Uh, you will have to keep nurturing the agent.
yeah,
It's just like having a pet, right? You have to
yes.
keep feeding it.
Yes, yeah, it's a continuous work. I think also around the integrations, right? Because we want to actually integrate, like tech from other ecosystems. So you want to make sure that you have a general interoperability around the different ecosystem and also provide different tooling for builders out there. Okay, I mean, Athen, that's everything. Like, thank you so much. I think that's super appreciated. Um, I think like we covered a lot. That was a short session. We definitely like need to invite you for like a part two. And I think like we brought, I mean, we kind of like spoke on different kind of ways from kind of like the how you started building is, what kind of like the challenges you face, the kind of like ways that you want to integrate specific things, and what are you working up next? Anything else to add?
No, thank you so much for having me.
Big pleasure, big pleasure. Thanks so much. Let's do that again. And thanks everyone also like that was listening to this kind of like today's agent intelligence kind of like live stream, video stream. And also again, thanks for sharing those insights. I think that's super valuable also for people not just building, but also like seeing what is around there, especially on the BCC like ecosystem is super interesting. What's happening. We definitely need to do this more. Thank you so much, Athens. For everybody's building agents that would just want to kind of like show or like is blocked with some kind of like coding parts, we have a specific like channel in the Mother Discord that you can just throw your bugs, and we're able to help through like some office hours or something. And apart that, I really hope like we're meeting each other to some next conference or events. And until then, thank you so much, and pleasure to have you here. And thanks everyone for like listening and asking question in the chat. We will follow up with some links. Awesome.